Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Scarlets Fever podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, Carwyn and the amazing Catboy. How are we doing, lads?
Very good, thanks.
Thank you. Yes, yeah, it's a good week to be recording.
Very good week. So, obviously, Friday aside, how's your week been, lad?
Yeah, bit stressful actually. I know it's only Monday when we're recording, but I got a train today and I almost missed it because I thought it was an hour later than it was, so I had a mad rush to the station then. But other than that, yeah, it's been good. Enjoyed a bit of rugby over the weekend, and yeah, it's looking nice. Another nice week now, hopefully.
This is now a rom-com pod after listening to that.
Yes, yeah.
That was nice. That suited
Thank you.
straight into that genre. How about you, Andrew? Anything interesting?
Not tons interesting. All of the rugby on Saturday was interesting. Say all, most. There's one game which wasn't interesting at all. But other than that, I've been just in the garden basically, like most people. First sunny weekend of the year, you hit the garden. I've jet washed the patio twice because the first time I did it shitly, and yeah, sorted out the jungle at the end of the garden that was occurring, and pretty much gotten it to look like actual human beings own this place rather than just leave it. It's just an abandoned hovel. So that's nice.
Just for everyone who's listening to this on audio, not video, Hugh is keeping looking out his back garden window to see, well, is it really done? Have I done it all? You can see himself.
I haven't. It's with all things. As soon you start doing it, you just go, oh, just tweet that, just tweet that, just tweet that.
Obviously I weren't here last week. I was out sunning it up in Turkey. One post of photos, they're not very flattering. But yeah, nice and burnt, come home, crisp as a lobster. And I did listen to the pod last week, and big congratulations to him. I was winding him up in a chat beforehand because he was going to do the community game. And I think it was only the one that you messed up, and it weren't even that bad. So fair play to the lad. He done well. So round of applause. Yay. Nice and sad. Okay, so on to rugby matters. Obviously Monday, so yesterday, Sunday, WRU announced the new EDC is no longer the EDC. It is now Super Rugby Cymru. And we had a bit of information on that on the BBC Scrum 5 programme. So I know we've talked all season about what it's going to be, how's it going to look. So what's the general feeling from you guys about it?
I don't mind the name. I'm okay with the name.
I was gonna say, yeah.
As in
now, the product needs to live up to the name, basically.
Yeah. Someone tweeted as well, like, how is Sanzar not copyrighted Super Rugby as a title? Because you got Super Rugby Cymru, so obviously Super Rugby Pacific, then there's Super Rugby South America that gets played. I think there's probably more ones that I'm forgetting.
But
we spelled rugby the Welsh way though, so it's fine.
Oh yeah. We have got one technicality there.
We've got to say rugby, not rugby.
Yes.
Yeah. Rugby.
Like we basically, since we've known what the format is going to be for a while in terms of a league and then a cup, and we've known that there's 10 teams in it, which, to be honest with you, I think 10 is probably too many. I would have gone 8, but Nigel Walker did say on Scrum 5, and we'll talk about the things that Nigel Walker said, but one thing he did say later on was that he understands why people would be resistant from going from 13 down to 8 straight away. So it is a compromise, I think, being at 10, but it is what it is. And my view on it is the format is probably the least important thing about it. It's more about the squads, because if it just ends up being the squads that were playing in the Premiership last season, but in this, it's a waste of time. We need to understand exactly what these squads are going to look like, and from our point of view, what Quins and Drovers are going to look like, who the Scarlets players they're going to be having are. That's what we're interested in. So that's the announcement that I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, that there are some key details that are missing, because like Wales Online posted a more comprehensive report on exactly what's going to be there, and I think it was a squad of 35. I haven't got it up, so and then they can have a dual registered, blah blah blah. But we needed to know how many academy players each team is going to get. That's the main sticking point. What's the requirement for every match day 15, 23? Those are the key sticking points that will tell us whether or not this is going to be an actual development competition or it's a revamped premiership. If we go back to the start of the season when they first announced this, I mean, there was obviously a lot of issues from Cardiff, Merthyr and Pontypridd about not having enough home games. And I don't know where the switch has come because, the first time we heard of it, it was going to be a couple months before Christmas and then a couple months during the Six Nations. And it's completely not that at all. It's a full league season. So, you're 18 league games, 9 home, 9 away, plus this cup competition, which is another 2 home, 2 away to make it 11 each. And I think the one thing that's disappointed me is the fact that I do agree that it does need to follow our season so players can keep fit, etc. But they needed to be playing during the international periods.
Yeah, I agree.
So when our squad players are not with the internationals, they can drop down and play with these academy players. I know there's a couple of weekends with the SRC Cup that's going to happen in Six Nations, but we needed it for the 3 weekends in November, and we needed it for all 5 weekends in the Six Nations. They were the key sticking points for me to what would really make this a development competition. And, we've seen how cold we are, when we go those 3-4 weeks without playing, when we go 2 weeks, one on, week off. You get cold. Like we saw it coming off of Benetton, and then we had that 2-week gap, and then we just capitulated again. We need regular rugby, which is the main sticking point from my point of view. But, got to support it. You've got to support it. If you don't support it, then what's the point of being a fan of Welsh Rugby? That's the same with the URC as far as I'm concerned. If you don't support it, don't be involved in it in any capacity, because you're just going to bring the game down, and that's not what we want.
I do, yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said there. I do think they've missed a trick, though. I quite like the model they've got in New Zealand, where you've got Super Rugby, Club Rugby, International, sort of following on from each other, and then you've got your non-international big names dropping down to play. It might be called the Mitre Cup anymore. I'm not sure what it's called, so apologies.
It's NPC now.
No, it's Bunnings now.
But I think that's just the sponsor.
Yeah, but that's what it's called, isn't it?
Okay.
It's the same as
we're so that it's more of a continuation, because obviously our budget in Wales in the Welsh regional game aren't as high as Leinster or La Rochelle, to name but 2 teams that a certain interviewee on Scrum 5 loved last night. So there might be times, look at our season this year, the amount of injuries we've had, and obviously our squad's going to be smaller going forward because of financial reasons. There might be more demand for academy players to step up. So then, if they've trained all week, let's say, with Quins or with Llanddyfri, and then Friday morning, captain's on, or somebody pulls up with a hamstring, everything that's been prepared goes out the window. So I think this should maybe have been a bit more thought into when they play, so that it works for those teams in Super Rugby Cymru, but also our regions who might need extra support at times during international periods, during if you're unfortunate to get 3 or 4 injuries in a short space of time. But it feels like because the seasons are sort of co-running, that won't happen. Although I'm a bit sad when it comes to fixtures, and I did look at the Super Rugby Cymru fixtures. I like the fact they've looked at it and gone, "Ooh, 21st of December is the last Saturday before Christmas. Let's have derbies." And I think, apart from, I think it's Bridgend to play RGC on that weekend.
Someone's got to play RGC, they don't they?
Yeah. So, but apart from that, I think, so you've got Quins Drovers, Ebbw Vale, Pontypool, Cardiff, Newport, Swansea, Aberafan, and Bridgend play RGC. So at least there's a bit of thinking there in trying to get fans to the grounds for those pre-Christmas matches. So there's I'm feeling more positive about everything now. It's just, as you've said, both of you said, it's about getting the squad numbers of regional players into the club setups and how that works.
It would have been. Oh, go on, Mark. You go first.
Yeah, and I think you've got to put credit again because they've reversed those fixtures for the following week. So the 21st and the 28th. I mean, even though if you look on the poster, they've put the derby round for the 4th of January instead of the 21st of December, when it actually is. But, you know, the fixtures are reversed week on week, so the 21st and the 28th. So, you know, at Christmas, and unless you finish it, unless you Bridgend, you're not going very far, which is nice. You know, I mean, or RGC, obviously.
Yeah, I did wonder whether there might be it might have been cool to have it played during the summer of the league and have it as summer rugby, but then I kind of realized, well, Harley was telling me about how it's difficult to come by grounds in the summer because all the clubs are used for cricket, and also the international World Championship, the Under-20s World Championship, is in the summer, or during the summer months. So a lot of the top players who will be playing in this competition would go off, so that would be a bit lost. So I kind of see it like Carwin said. There's a couple of things that I would tweak, and I think there's a couple of opportunities maybe missed. But like you said, Mark, it's time to get on board now. Really, once we've seen the squads, it's the only caveat I'm putting over it.
Well, one positive we do have, we know TN Sparrow is being with Llandyfri. We knew that from a few weeks ago.
Quadruple winners.
Quadruple winners, yes. They've added the SRC Challenger Shield to the repertoire. And am I right in thinking they only defended in home games?
That's right.
So, you know, first week of the season, they're guaranteed to keep it because they're away to Pontypool. Yeah, so their first defence will be in the second round on the 21st of September at home to RGC. So we'd like to think they'll get at least one defence in there. But no, in terms of the squad mates up, we know from the Scarlets' point of view, we know that Ian Sparrow is going to be with Llandyfri. He was pictured with Adam Warren and, I forget his name, head coach. I always call him in my head. I don't know why. It's his initials. But he was photoed there for the announcement. So we know he's there. We know the sort of player he is watching the 18s, and it's going to be interesting to see him and many, many more play on a regular basis. So we'll cut that where it is. I mean, we could probably go on for hours if we really wanted. So scrum 5, Lauren Jenkins scored a 5th round knockout against Nigel Walker. How are we all feeling after watching that?
You go first, Carwin.
Well, you know, as in big chance now, big TV interview, chance to really put regional rugby's fans' minds at ease, and anybody with any interest in international. This was the chance to sort of say, da 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 da. I just felt, as you say, I wouldn't have given to the 5th round. I thought Lauren Jenkins took him to the cleaners. I'm just, I don't know, it's just a bit worried that the thinking that some of these people working at the WRA have, as in, he's talking about finding an extra 2 million pool of money for each region, yet admitting that they're running a loss as it stands. And at the moment, Welsh Rugby isn't marketable to bring in international sponsorship, as in there's no sort of appeal to it, as in our international teams between men and women won 1 game this year in the Six Nations. It's just I don't know. I think he's living in a bit of a cuckoo land, and I just felt like he had a speech prepared to read out, and regardless of what Lauren asked him, who I thought interviewed very well and pushed him as much as she probably could without him walking off, I just again feel like a lot of questions unanswered and a lot of uncertainty. And when he got to the region, amount of regional teams, he just chucked a lot of numbers about to make it sound like important. But the reality is, at one stage, the WRU owned the region. If they wanted to reduce to 3, that was the perfect time to do it. Now that they've gone back to private ownership, all 4 regions, it is very much harder for them to get to lose the region. So I don't know, I'm just fed up of hearing the same old things.
I think from my point of view, what possessed him to even go on? Like, I know he had the announcement of Super Rugby Cymru, but why did that have to be this weekend? Why not leave it till did he see that like 3 Welsh regions won and was like, let's capitalize on some good feeling? Like, why not leave it until 3 weeks time when when the season's over for all of the regions, and do it then when he's got like free space to talk about it? What possessed him to go on with Lauren Jenkins on where you knew she was going to skewer him? Like, my favorite moment was she asked him a question and he gave a long spiel, and then she went, okay, let's just have a look at the numbers. And you could see in his eyes he was like, oh no. And she like turned the page over in her notes. It was like, oh God. The thing with the number of regions. So, full disclosure, I didn't watch this interview until this evening. I don't watch Scrum 5 normally. And I saw obviously everyone kicking off about it. And I thought, yeah, maybe it's like one of those out of context things. The BBC headline that they put out, was the only word that was quoted was the word option. So maybe I thought, oh, maybe he's like tried to play it down and move on, and they've pushed him into saying it. But no, he spoke for a good 3 minutes about reducing the number of regions. And to me, the way that I interpret it, and this is my interpretation, other people's interpretation may be different, and that's fine. My interpretation is that he is open to reducing the number of regions, and they are regularly talking about it. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's even the right thing to say, with respect to our sister pods. For me, he should have come out and said, no, it's 4 regions, and then end of it. Like, it's 4 regions. We're committed to 4 regions. The one thing, I guess, being purely one-eyed Scarlets about it is that I don't think the Scarlets would be the one to go if anybody went. But that's me being very, very selfish.
If you look at the 4 regions and you look at where the owners of such, or where the funding director, the only one that's not got a good core in Wales is the Ospreys with Y11. And we know they've talked around mergers before, etc. Not to say that they're going to do that again or that they'd ever consider folding, but if you look at it from a perspective of where's the money coming from, when a lot of it's not coming from within Wales, you're thinking, well, they haven't got that emotional tie that perhaps the other regions do. I could be wrong. They could have loads of funding directors that are like, yeah, I'm a Swansea, I'm Neath, whatever. Well, not Neath. Well, born and bred, I love this team, blah, blah, blah. But just from an outsider's perspective, I go, okay, you're all Welsh-based, or you're Welsh business or whatever, and then you've got Y11 who got, their hands in so many pots over the world. But, that's another question for another time, like, go on, but...
Yeah. No, I was just saying, maybe that's better, though, that they're bringing money in from abroad, because there's a limited amount of revenue in Wales. If they can get international money, then it's probably the right way to do it. I am 100% committed to seeing the Scarlets remain as a region, but with our levers list this year, that's the first time I've gone, oh, that's a hefty amount of dollar off our wage bill. And is there something in that, or am I overthinking and just should look at it as 4 or 5 35 plus players who have come to the end of their careers or coming to the end of their careers, and that's why they're being moved on. I think personally there's enough space in Wales for 4 regions. Should all 4 be within the 70 miles or whatever they are on the M4? That's a debate for another day. But I do think there is more than enough talent in our country to sustain 4 teams. Look at the fact that we've got to send academy players to play in Super Rugby Cymru because they won't get enough game time at regional level, so they need to develop elsewhere. I'd rather see developing within Wales than signing for academies over the bridge or for teams over the bridge, and then we lose them in the international pathway, which, again, Nigel Walker talking about the Exeter wing who's from Cardiff, and just, the discussions happened too late. Sorry, if a kid is that good at rugby, they get picked up at 13, 14, at the latest 15 now. Conversations can happen, as in you don't leave it until he goes for a university interview in Exeter or whatever, and then ends up moving across the bridge. So I just think that's a poor excuse for we missed that one. We got it wrong. But yeah, 4 regions to me is a must.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. 4 regions is the minimum. And if you look, I know Nigel Walker touched on it a little bit with the Dewar Shield changing, but if you look at the sheer amount of numbers that we have playing that rugby, like I think he said 1,500 over the 2 years. So, it's a lot more than that, because I think he's basing off like 32-man squads or whatever it is. But we know some of these Dewar Shield squads, they carry up to 45 players at sometimes a year with injuries, etc. So, there's plenty of players around at the 15, 16-year-old age. It's how we get them through to 1920, because, and Lee will testament to this, if you do not treat a player right at any one of them stages, they will walk away, and they might not even play rugby ever again. And you just can't emphasize how much that has an impact when you're talking to 16, 17-year-old boys, because these are boys, they're not men. Even when they're 18, 19, they're not, developed enough to understand, your dream's gone to shit, jog on. You need that aftercare there, and I'm hoping that's something that is changing with the additional funding, but that's yet to be seen. One of my biggest takes from Nigel is saying we need 5.5 to 6 million to be competitive. Well, we got 5.2 million this year, so 5.5 is one more player. So are you telling me if we had one more player, we would be competitive? And then he tops that off by saying, we're still driving costs down. We want to increase the budget, but we're driving everything down first. Okay. And then just either contradicts or things that don't make sense. I mean, we've not come out to this interview knowing anything new or anything different. I mean, he could have just said, we're committed, like you said, we're committed to the 4 regions. End of. We've looked at 3, there'll be 3 on the table, but for the next 3-4 years, however long our contract is with the URC, we are sticking with 4. End of. Does anyone have any more points they want to talk about, or do we just want to maybe big up Lauren a bit more before going off?
Yeah,
she did very well.
Like I said, I don't know what prompted him to go on and go put himself through that. It's a bizarre decision.
To go for an interview is one. To go for a live,
especially because they've got the commitment to produce the new strategy next month. Just leave it a month, Nigel.
Just something concrete to say. I thought James Hook did quite well pushing him as well. I thought Hooky wanted to.
But if you look at the interaction between Nigel and James, it was like, being in the academy without trying to tell everyone what he actually knew. It's like, this isn't a private conversation with someone who has X amount of knowledge. This is a public forum that you're giving out to the entire country. You can't just say, you know this, and expect everyone else to know as well. Just beggars belief, man. So
but it was like after the 3 wins on the weekend, it was like the WRU had to come out and be like, let's just put a stop to this. Let's just ruin everybody's weekend. And just Welsh Rugby Twitter this week it's been 24 hours, has been just back to its best, brackets worst.
Okay, so that's all the dark stuff. Some nice news with the SRC, some not so nice news with Nigel Walker. But on to Friday. This past Friday, out in Parma, Scarlets got a win. Did we all watch the game live? That's the first question.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 3 yeses. That's what we like. So I'll start with who, because Carwyn's had to go for a few times now. So overall impressions of the match. Like I know there's a few players you love sticking out.
Oh yeah, of course there is. The Hugh's greatest hits incoming. The a lot of the commentary. Well, no, actually, I want to start with all you could hear through the whole game was the Scarlets fans singing. Like I'm sure they've had a great day on a Friday afternoon in Parma in the lovely weather, having a drink or two. Someone tried to take the piss and say, "Oh, they've been all on bottles of prosecco," and then our friend Joe wrote in to say, "We tried to find bottles of prosecco, no one was selling any, so we had to make do with glasses of prosecco." So fair play.
Hard life.
The actual game itself. Well, yeah, just to finish on that, considering the how rough the season is, to have a cohort of fans go over to Italy and drown out their home fans. It was the same in Connacht as well earlier this season. All you could do was the Scarlets fans during that. I think that should remind the players, what they're playing for. Really, is like this is why playing for the Scarlets is different. So the game itself, a lot of the discussion during and after was like, this is two bad teams. And, it wasn't like we turned into Leinster or Toulouse overnight. There were still things in there that weren't great, but it was a comfortable victory. We were a step ahead of them. Zebre, poor, you have to say, poor team. Just happy. And all the players who we know are good were good. Eddie James had his best game in a while. He's not someone I've seen a lot of people talking about. Tommy Lewis is mad to me that he was on the bench for half a season. You were calling it, Mark. You were calling for him to get a run before anybody else.
I was calling it from when he signed from bloody Jersey last season. He's a tremendous player. So,
just happy to get the win. That's the most important thing. Happy to get the win.
Carwyn, how about you, Bert? Is it more or less the same, or do you have any more to give?
Well, when you think, a lot of people thought Zebre would do us, that this was their chance to beat us at home. This was their cup final, and they sort of set up to play like that. And yes, it wasn't a spectacle, but neither side has played rugby this season that made anybody think it was going to be any different. The truth of the matter was, the Scarlets had to win to A, avoid being finished as the bottom Welsh region, and B, to start building confidence for next season. I think I called it on this pod and on the Welsh language pod last week. Momentum for next season started against Zebre. You win that with a bonus point. We somehow find a way of finally defeating the Dragons at Judgment Day and get a bonus point. And we finish with 2 big wins to end the season. Yes, arguably against the 2 weakest teams in the league. That's not our fault that's how the fixtures came out. It's to our benefit. We've got to take advantage of that and finish on a high. It was nice to see us scoring a few tries. I know we've struggled this season, but one thing I've got to say, and this isn't sort of in any way detrimental to Johan Lloyd's performance, but when Sam Costello came on the pitch, he seemed to lift the game. He seemed to change everything. You could have almost had an argument for him being man of the match in the however long he played, because he seemed faster. He seemed to read things better, and I don't think you realise how good somebody is until, for me anyway, he came on Friday and I thought, wow, this kid is even better than I thought he was, because he's come off the bench cold and he's changed the game, and we've looked like a different team with him on the field. But to me, signs that there's something to build on now. And I think that's something we haven't had all year, is a foundation to build anything on. We just need to back that up now at Judgment Day, as in not go back to our old ways, think, right, this is the bar we've set. We keep building from that and see where we end up.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. And yeah, we didn't concede a single point once Sam had come on. And something interesting I picked up, all season, Costello has only played, 2 consecutive games. So, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, following Friday, Saturday, Sunday, once for us all season. He's played consecutive games where we've had weeks off in between, but only once has he started 2 in a row. And that's just astounded me. And I think that can play into why we've had such a poor season. I know Hill has been banging on it for a long time. We are a different outfit with Costello on the field. Few honourable mentions. I would have said this last week as well, because I noticed it against the Ulster game. Harry O'Connor and Kemsey Mathias had a lot more involvement in both of these games than they have done previously. They were carrying more, they were hitting more racks. I don't know if that's the influence of Vandenberg, but I was really impressed with the pair of them. I know that O'Connor missed a tackle against, I want to say the Zebre 15, but you put a 15 against a tight end. It's only one winner. Yeah. But I've been really impressed with both of them, and I am fans of both of them as well. That's there's no hiding that from myself. And if they keep on this sort of trajectory, I'm expecting even better performance from them both against the Dragons. Same as Morgan Jones has seemed to have found, a new wind in his career.
Do you think he makes the scrum better?
Yeah, 100%. When we have Jones and Price or Jones and Craig, Lousy is an amazing player, but he's not the best scrummaging lock. You need that frame, you need that weight. One thing I will criticise Morgan Jones for, I think it was him, is when we set up for the scrum and him and Craig come up, he seems to be in an awkward shape. So you see Craig has still got that, that nice scrum profile on him. Morgan is a little bit more awkward. His bum is more up in the air. So I think that's something that can be worked on that would help the scrum again. But yeah, when we've got two hefty, not just weight, built, it's the frame that helps as well. When we've got two big locks like that in the scrum, it just solidifies everything. And when it comes to scrums, I'm a very big believer in, like you are with combinations, is I like everyone to be within an inch or two of each other in height. So if my loose head is 6 foot flat, my hooker and my tight head, they got to be between 5'11" and 6'1", because it just makes that balance of when you move forward together as a unit so much easier. And it's the same with your locks. It actually started when I was playing youth rugby. And so I'm only 5'8". I was always propping. My hooker next to me, it was 5'7", and then our tight head was 6'4". And it was just a nightmare trying to pack us down. So, we shifted him into the lock, and we picked another small guy, another similar height guy, and we worked so much better, even though that tight end was probably our strongest scrummager, even over than me. We worked so much better.
6'4" is too tall for a prop.
It is. Yeah, and have you seen this thing out of Japan? I think it was League One, like a 6 foot.
I feel like I've seen this before. I feel like I've seen that headline and that photo before. I think this is one of those things that comes out as a joke every year or something, to be honest.
It was like 6'10", 150 kilos. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter how good you are. You are not getting down in a scrum. You get a nice squat 5'10" type deal, Lucy, and they're smashing out.
On the scrum as well, it's clearly a thing that on our put in Plumtree's at 8, and on opposition put in Carwin's at 8. Yeah. Just on Carwin as well, I think we have seen him play well this season, and I think it's time now that we all adjust our expectations of the kind of player that Carwin is, because people wanted him to be Callum Mahoney Mark II, and he's not that. But what he is, like this weekend, he was our top tackler, top carrier. He's been top carrier before. He's been top tackler before. I think we need to start viewing him as kind of a bit like a Dan Lydiate kind of character. He's that kind of player, a workhorse kind of player, rather than a big flashy number 8. And it's an interesting balance now with that back row of Carwin, Plumtree, and Dan Davis, because now you've got 3 players who all bring something different. And so before, when we've been having, say, Fafita and Plumtree, those two are very similar. And it feels mad to say that our best back row doesn't contain Veer Fafita, who is arguably our most talented player. But that balance that we've got now just seems to work. I don't know, Mark, what your view on that is.
Yeah, I'm in big agreement with you there. Carwyn especially. One thing he does do, which we saw last season a couple of times. I don't think we've quite seen it this season, but when he makes a break, by God, does he make a break? He's not going over his 3-4 meters and that's it. He makes 10, 15, 20. And if he can somehow manage to do that once or maybe twice in a match on top of what he's already doing, that, you're talking international at that rate. And I think there's been too much put on his shoulders. I mean, he's still 22 years old. And he made his debut January 2021. So the last 2 seasons, he hasn't really progressed as a lot of people would have expected. But we've had Callum Mahoney starting almost every single game. And the games that he didn't start was when he did make those breaks. And we was like, oh, yeah, he's pretty good. So I do think we need to persevere. And I know you can say Plumtree's 06. There's no doubt of that. I feel we got to stick with Carwyn at 8 just because he's not going to develop otherwise. I don't think he's going to develop off the bench. He's not going to learn fast enough. So you're stuck in a position then where does the feet go? So that is an awkward one. The balance is good. I would prefer Dan Davis of 2-3 years ago, someone who poaches a lot more, someone who's more in that ruck. He does still do it. He does still get the turnovers, but he's not where he used to be, where now his game is a lot more physical, where he used to always be in the ruck. I think that's the only thing I'd want to change in that back row if I could get my 7 to pilfer a little bit more.
I think Carwyn's downfall is the fact that when he first burst on the scene, he was this monster of a sized 18-year-old, and people are expecting him to just pick up from where Callum Mahoney left off. Obviously, he was 18. He was still sort of developing as a human, his sort of physique and everything. So I think it has taken him time, but I think probably going through the sticky patch he went through will benefit him in the long run, because it'll make him a stronger person, and B, he's been able to find what the niche aspect of his game is, and I think it is sort of being that big tough tackler, and yes, he chips in here and there on the ball, but if he puts in 20 tackles a game, then that means it's 5 or 6 tackles less that Plumtree and Dan Davis have to do. If Callum does a tackle, Dan Davis or Plumtree can get their hands on the ball, where if Plumtree's doing the tackle, I'm not seeing Carwyn getting to the ruck and putting his hands on that ball as much. So I think it's finding the balance, and I think the balance is there. So you're probably looking, if Plumtree's not, it's 50 for Plumtree, I'd imagine, if you are chopping and changing, just to keep that balance right.
I think you could rotate the two. And you can obviously you've got Fafiti can play in the second row as well, as can Plumtree. 6-2 split, Dwayne. Come on. Like
All about 6-2.
So while I'm on doing my Hughes greatest hits, but Elias has played really well last couple of games. I think he deserves a shout out. I think Cowdor has shown as well. Form is temporary, class is permanent. I'm not sure I would have given him man of the match, but 2 tries. Yeah, there you go. Sam Costello, agree with you. When he came on, it was kind of like, right, okay, enough messing around. Give me the ball. Give me the fucking ball. And when we had a few penalties on their 5 meter and we were messing around, he's like, for God's sake, give me the ball. I'm going to kick the 3 and we'll go back out and we'll kick the 3 again. How about that? So that was good. Johnny Williams again. He gave what I like about what he did in this game is he gave Eddie James a bit more space to be Eddie James. That was good. The 2 wingers, very good. Nicholas has really stated claim that he should be playing in the team every week. And again, just to the point of memeing myself, the only reason that I didn't do a stats drop about Tane Plumtree this week is for variety. Like he is, when you go whatever stat you look at, it's like, oh, there's Tane Plumtree top 3. Oh, he's there again. Oh, he's there again. He's there again. And it's like attacking, defending, line outs, whatever you want. I genuinely believe that Plumtree can be as good as Fafita.
Yeah. I mean, I I don't know if this has been his game, if he's done it for games previous, but I saw him nicking a few balls in the line out, and he's essentially him and Fafita are very identical players. Obviously, they're different people. They're going to have certain different aspects, but I'm liking the fact that we got both of them. But unless we do go for that 6-2, we are looking at only one at Plumtree and Fafita is going to start, and you want both of them in your 23. So it's a tough one for Dwayne, and that's his job. That's what he's earning money for. That's what he gets to pay his mortgage on his house for. But
I think he picks. I think he picks both though. I think he'll revert to Carwyn off the bench, and for a balance, I don't think that's right.
No,
I might be wrong. That's my gut instinct.
Like who said, where you have Carwyn as a Lydia style player. Well, if your 6 is not that style player and your 8 is, then that means your 6 can be your show pony. And Fafita and Plumtree are both show ponies. You can't have 2 show ponies in the same back row. It doesn't work.
I agree with you. I'm just hoping that Dwayne's listening or watching and agrees with us 3, because I think that is the key, is finding that balance. And too often this year, I don't think we've had that balance. On Plumtree though, what about that? I'll call it a flat pass.
No,
purely...
it wasn't flat. His hand is curved. It is 100%
He has forwards. But
his hand is curved backwards.
We haven't had the rub of the green, so we'll take it.
Yeah. Although to be fair, that when we beat Cardiff at home at the beginning of the season, the game that me and Mark were at, one of the tries. Do you remember, Mark? We were in the ground and the try got scored, and it was quiet because everyone was like, "That was forward," and we were further away from it than like anybody like in the ground. We were as far away from that as possible, and we were saying to each other, "That looked forward." Like with the URC Go stuff they sent us, I've seen an angle from the other side. It's like 5 meters forward. It's like Cardiff should be absolutely spitting about that.
Well, that's something for the technicians of the game and the referees to argue about.
Yeah.
Let Jockey have another moan somewhere else.
Yeah. I'm just going to do 3-word thoughts.
You want to do 3-word thoughts? Oh, are they 3 words? Because you got in trouble this week.
Managed 3 words. People were just so excited. They all got.
You didn't do 3 words this week.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes,
a
I did.
number counts.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
If I'd have written 4, FOUR, that's a word. I didn't. I used a number 4.
That's a cop out. A massive cop out.
It's not a cop out. It's a technicality, but it's not a cop out.
Yeah, you're copping out to the rules, but you want to enforce it for other people, not yourself.
I'm maximizing my opportunity. But anyway, other people's. First thing I'll say before I go to the 3-word thoughts, thank you to everyone who shared photos of your trip. Loved them all. We're going to pick maybe 1 or 2 for the thumbnail on the YouTube, because we're not allowed to use pictures of the players because reasons. So we're going to have to do a rant podcast at the end of the season to just get things off our chest. But
we'll put you in a little box on your own and let you go, is it?
Yeah.
And just go, have fun, mate.
Yeah, well, when arguably the greatest player who's ever played for your region retires, and you can't use a photo of him on social media because you're scared of what a photographer's going to say to you, But so thank you to everybody who sent you nice pictures of your trip to Italy. We love them all, and keep sending them for every match that you go to. We love looking at them. So 3-word thoughts. Austin says supporters were great. Pete says a long sentence that I'm not going to read, as does Lewis, as does Betty. Jack comes in with need more still. All the people who actually manage 3 words managed to be negative. Peter says about bloody time. Yeah, okay. Brian says cracking the wine. Crack on, Peter. Brian, rather. James Nichols Rogers says Scarlets love pasta. Maybe we do. Owen says well played, Scarlets. Richard says 18-minute performance. Agreed. Gareth Young says 5 points finally. Mandy says win in Italy. And Brian comes in with another multiple word answer. I would go and look at Twitter, but the Ospreys fans woke up this week. Scarlets won a game, which meant that our replies on Twitter were all full of Ospreys fans who weren't happy about that. So never mind.
Before we move on from the 3 words, can you pull up the 80-minute performance one for me?
80-minute performance.
How's it written?
Hang on, I can't find it now. 80. Yeah, 80 is word-wise.
No, is there digits in it?
No, it's spelt in English words.
Can you prove it?
Yes, I can prove it.
I don't think you can, see.
Yes, I can. I just have to put
He won't bring it up to the
on.
screen. He won't bring it up to the screen. Oh, no.
Richard Morgan.
Oh, look, he's keeping it blurred. Oh my God, why is he keeping it blurred for?
I'm going to screenshot it and put it in the chat.
Just winding up. I was hoping it was 8-0, but who knows his technicalities very well, apparently. Yeah. Okay, so no game this week. We'll get on to our final game next week. But the Scarlets have, not prematurely in this one, but put out the Player of the Season vote. So we've had Gareth Davis, Alex Craig, Ioan Nicholas, Ioan Lloyd, Ryan Elias, and Johnny Williams as the 6 nominees for our Player of the Season. Do you think anyone is in there a bit unjustly, or do you think that's probably a fair reflection on the season?
Well, I think it's quite a fair reflection of it. It's not been the easiest of seasons to pick probably six nominees. Yeah, as in I can't begrudge any of the 6 say they don't deserve to be there. So yeah, I think I've expected maybe for Costello to be in the mix because he seems to have been our go-to in everything this year. But yeah, I think whichever one of those 6 wins it can feel they've probably done enough to deserve it this season.
Yeah, I mean, where Costello's concerned, he's only played in 6 games. Well, he's only started 6 games, I should say. So even though he has been great, might be a bit unfair to put him in there. If we do a young player, I mean, I very much expect Eddie James to be on that list.
Yeah, Leather Barrow had a fantastic first half of the season.
He did. He was absolutely outstanding, and quite frankly, if he was fit, I would be slotting him at 7. But he's not. We still haven't had confirmation of whether or not he's staying or leaving, which I think would be a catastrophe if he leaves. But there we go on that front. So I already know who's going to be voting for and who I will be voting for, and that's Alex Craig. So, Carwyn, which one of the 6 have you put you a lot in with?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I do love a Craig type player in the engine room, as in he's had moments where if you stuck a scrum cap on, you think, oh, has Jake Ball come back? But yeah, I think it's probably between him and I'm gonna say Ioan Nicholas, because I think as somebody who's, I won't say criticised him, but as somebody who's thought, has he done enough to warrant being given a contract to contract? I feel like this season he has stepped up and looked good in the Scarlets shirt. So yeah, for me, it's between Craig and Ioan Nicholas.
Yeah, in all fairness to Ioan, we've played 21 games this season. He's been involved in 20 of them. So for versatility and perseverance, he has been there day in, day out. And I think we all underestimate how good of a player he actually is because of his versatility. Whether he's playing on the wing or in the centres or full back, he does a job for us no matter what. And I'm quite comfortable with him, at full back at the minute. And then I would very much hope that he doesn't move for this last game, even if Rogers is back fit. But if Rogers does come back fit, I'd probably expect him to go on the wing for Combia. But again, another story for another day. So is that mean your vote is going with Nicholas?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. I think it is. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna log on to the Scarlets Twitter feed. We're gonna make sure that Carwyn's name is next to Ioan Nicholas on this voting form now.
Yeah. Can I just for a bit of fun? So Scarlet's official supporters posted a picture of all the boys having coffee
Yeah.
in Parma, and I always like seeing who sits with who. So, Mark, you have to let me share the screen somehow.
Share screen. Uh, can I click on it? You should be able to do it.
Oh, I got it now. Okay, cool. Right. Can you see that?
Here we go. Here we go.
Loading. There we
Right.
go.
There we
So,
go.
right. So what we got going on here? So this is more for the YouTube people. So this is good. So this is a photo that was posted to social. So I like to seeing who's best friends. So oh, I just heard something weird in my headphones then. That was weird. The what I like about this though is clearly the person taking the photo has gone, right, everybody smile, and only half the boys are listening. But you can see over in the far right corner here, you got Tommy Lewis was paying attention, but he's sort of in the photo but not in the photo. Like she
He's a
didn't
good
mind you,
boy.
Tommy.
He
Yeah.
listens.
So that's nice. Obviously, we got at the front, we got the cool kids table with Johan Lloyd, Johnny Williams, Tame Plumtree. Who's this guy?
Is that Shenton? No, it's not Shenton, is
No.
it? I can't think.
I looked on the Scarlets squad page. I don't know who this guy is.
Could he be in the physio room? Who knows? But yeah, carry on.
So answers on a postcard, please. Because I thought it was just me being thick. If even Mark doesn't know who you are.
No, it's I don't want to say it. I think again, like if I said Ben Williams and it wasn't Ben, I'd be very, very distraught.
Is it Ben Williams?
Can you get his photo up? We'll do this further along down the lines. So who
You
else?
look, check further. Okay. Right. I don't know who these two blokes are moving round. I think these are just some other guys. You got facing away, I think this is Eddie James.
Yeah.
Can I zoom in? What happens if I zoom in? No, nothing. Eddie James, and then you got Harry O'Connor sat next to him. And then over here you've got Archie and Charlie sat next to each other because they're best friends.
Well, they are. They're the dream team.
Best friends forever.
Yeah,
I don't know
think
who
it's
this
Ben.
guy facing away is.
I want to say that's Ben.
It could be Ben.
Yeah, it looks like Ben from the photo.
Because then it's the kids' table. There we go. Right. And then we got Edwin Swartz, Alex Craig sat next to you there. Alex Craig in his purple top. I think this is Kieran Hardy here.
Oh, possibly. You'll have to Photoshop out that bar in the way.
Yeah. And then I think it's Con Beer having a coffee with Tommy Lewis at the back.
Oh, I don't know. That looks a bit big to be Combia. Like, he's quite tall. He looks rather lanky, the frame.
Well, it can't be. We know it's not Eddie. We know it's not Johnny.
Where's he? No, it's not Johan. He's half bald, isn't he? Ah, who knows?
Anyway, so I thought this was fun. My biggest takeaway is that Archie and Charlie are inseparable. They go everywhere together. And
well, that looks to be the academy table, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because obviously, Harry. Well, how old is Harry? Is he still under 23? Oh, that's another question for another story. But yeah, good photo. Always nice to see the boys enjoying. We had the what was it, the saucepan bark after the match on the bins. Oh, that was a nice.
Yeah, that was good.
But yeah, so that's the boys out in Parma. Obviously, they're coming back to the. I don't really want to say nice things about Cardiff, but they're going to be in Cardiff for a home game.
Hey, look, we know now from the commentary that May in South Wales is unfavourable rugby conditions.
Oh, especially Llanelli. It's boiling. You can barely play.
It's unreasonable to expect rugby players to play in these conditions.
Absolutely disgusting. They should be, striking, balloting, everything. They need more pay to play in May. So the other thing the Scarlets have released, which I think is a bit premature, is their try of the season. And so they've nominated 5 tries. So we've got Steph Evans against Cardiff, Cowdo's Gareth Davis against Cardiff, Joe Roberts against Munster. That's my favourite one out of this bunch. A weird one in Edwin Swart against Benetton.
I think it's Ben Williams.
It's Ben Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because he's got stubble in the photo, but on his squad photo, he's not got any stubble.
No, the face looks about right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then the 5th try is Ryan Elias against the Sharks. Have either of you had a chance to look at these tries?
I can't find them. Where are they?
They're on Twitter. If you go on Scarlets Rugby Twitter, you'll
It's on
see
Instagram.
try of the season.
Out of those, I'm going Joe Roberts against Munster.
Yeah, I'm liking Joe Roberts on it. My personal favourite is Plumtree's very, very backward offload from this past Friday. That didn't make the cut for whatever reason. I'm still quite disappointed in that. And
Joe Roberts' one is the one that had me shouting the loudest. Because there was a moment, if you watch it back, there's a moment where he's not sure he's going to make it.
yeah, he sort of does
And then
that.
he goes, no, it's before that. He makes the line break and he's through, and he can see 2 Munster players closing him down from either side. And you can see him make the decision of, am I going for it? And he goes, yeah, I'm going for it. And then he gets there. And the pullback assist from Eddie James.
Yeah, that was so nice. That was the first time we saw him really use his hands in the Scarlets team. And obviously, we talked about at the time, he's played a lot of rugby at 10 coming up. So he's going to be some player, Eddie James. He's still a young kid, and we see in the sort of physical presence he has on the field. And when he gets his hands moving, like again, for I think it was Elias's try on Friday, little soft hands to Plumtree, and boom,
Oh yeah,
he got the assist.
Something special, yeah.
He got the assist for Tommy Lewis as well. It was a very, very quick tip on.
No, he is such a good player at his age, and I'm looking forward to his progression. I'm not going to put this sort of thing onto him because he hasn't played 10 at a Premiership consistent level, but a sort of Dan Carter-esque style of player.
Yeah.
No, just think about it. No, I'm not. But he's in that 12. He's very comfortable at 10. He has got a good all-round game. That's all I'm going to put.
Have you seen that Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu plays for Stormers?
Oh, don't.
I think if we saw the title of this pod, though, Eddie James, the next Dan Carter.
that would be good. I think that'd be a nice ego boost for the kid.
Yeah.
I've just watched these tries now, and it's hard to believe that the 2 against Cardiff and Joe Roberts against Munster was this season. It feels like such a long time since we did stuff like that. I do like Gareth Davies' tie, but that's a typical Gareth Davies tie.
Which one is it? Because he scored like 3 tries against Cardiff in the 2 games.
It's the one where John McNichol to Steph Evans, and Steph Evans chips it over the top, and he sprints in. The Ryan Elias one was quite special. Who doesn't love a hooker with a sidestep on him?
It was a good try.
They're all good tries, to be fair. I think the Benetton one is in there just because we were desperate for a win.
Yeah.
So, which is your favourite? We've got 2 votes for Joe. Where's Karen? Is he going to be different again? He's turned
yeah,
I think in a dark mood.
I think I am, because of the scrum half union. I'm going to vote for Gareth Davies.
What a shock. Okay, that's more or less everything for this week. The only other bit of news we have, Karen, you can pronounce her name because I will butcher it. Tonya
Antionazzi has joined the board.
Yeah, so that's. I think it's an all-round good appointment. Obviously she's an MP. That brings sort of some credibility with it. What are you guys' overall feelings towards this move?
She's a Llanelli lady, played international rugby. I think it's a good move. She's clearly interested in rugby because she's sort of voiced her opinion on a few things in the past, and yeah, hopefully, with the women's game growing in Wales, that having her on the board, she'll be able to sort of have an influence and help bring that further forward again.
I think it's good they spoke so much about her intent with the women's games and things. I think it's good to have someone who's an expert in that area. in the press releases though, I've noticed that every press release that we put out lately has included the line since the days at Stradey Park. Like everybody has been doing everything since the days at Stradey Park. That's Scarlet's bingo. God, the poor Scarlet's like admin person who puts out all the content he's going to do me for bullying one of these days. But yeah, the only thing I think we've got to be careful of is we're going to end up with more people sat around the boardroom than on the pitch at this rate.
No, I mean overall, any extra expertise we can get into any of the regions is a bonus. Especially with the creation of Britain now this season, and obviously it was spoken about on Scrum 5 again, the expansion of the Celtic Challenge to go longer in the season, which it's not happening.
I'm ridiculously looking forward to the Celtic Challenge coming back. Yeah. Considering how rubbish Britain were for the first half of it, I'm like, I can't wait for it to come back.
It was enjoyable rugby. I think that's what a lot of people take from the women's game. It seems there's a lot more rugby played, and I don't want to say it's a lot less physical, but it's more attuned to the skills of the game than it is to just raw power. And it's just an easier watch. It's the same as watching an amateur club.
Bloody Alex Calendar plays for us.
Well, she is insane. And there's no ifs and ahs about that. So.
Yeah. Sod playing up in RGC though. Play all your games in the park.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be done. If RGC want to create their own women's side and try and get it in there, I mean,
yeah.
Just look at where the 3 development centres for the women's game did across South Wales. Like, I know North Wales has a part to play with Wales in rugby. Obviously, it's North Wales; it's a part of the country. But when you're looking at the numbers involved in rugby up there compared to down here, it's obvious why it stays down here.
I think there's an answer to North Wales rugby, but that might be for another pod because it's a good rant, but I just want to keep it in my sleeve.
Yeah, keep it up your sleeve. Like there is room for it. It's just not easy, and especially with the infrastructure we have in Wales, what was it, 3.5, 4 hours to get up there? It's not easy.
Change it, Birmingham.
But no, I'm overall. Yeah, I think the Tonya appointment will be positive. As much as I would love for a couple of millionaires, maybe even a billionaire coming in and being an extra funding director, the fact is,
if you won the lottery, would you buy the Scarlets?
How much? How much have I won the lottery for?
You've won the Euro millions, 100 million.
100 million. That's not enough to buy the Scarlets. I would invest. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you talk? Yes, you could buy the Scarlets for 100 million. Newcastle United sold for 300 million.
Yeah, if I'm spending fucking shitloads of my money, yeah, I don't want to spend that much. I'd probably around the 10 million mark would be my maximum, but that'd be spread out over a couple of years. Like I wouldn't be just going years 30 fucking million. Go sort yourselves out. I'm not that type of guy. Like,
I'd buy the Scarlets Club shop.
Yeah, well, apparently the club shop has improved recently. There's been some pencils and pens at the desk to be bought. So, every little improvement is worth shouting about at the minute because, where we have been has been absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
So, seeing as though he was talking about winning the lottery, I'm assuming he has, and he's wondering whether or not to invest. So,
no, I might be monetized on YouTube now, but it's still not that kind of money.
Money bags.
Pirate Rugby, everybody. If you haven't already subscribed, get on there, have a watch. He done a nice, interesting Substack on the Southern Kings, which he very proudly sent me earlier today, and it was a really good read.
I'm very proud of it. It's the closest thing to actual journalism that I've ever done.
Yeah.
But Carwyn, what about you? If you won the lottery, you buying the Scarlets?
100%.
What's the first thing you do when you walk in the door? Are you going with the Elon Musk with a sink, and you go, let this sink in? Is that your joke? Or what's your first thing that you change? Before you sit at your desk, what's the first memo you're sending?
Let's get us back to the days at Stradey Park.
That's got to be done, haven't it?
So,
yeah, I don't know, but
we're living in fantasy land now. Really.
Yeah, I don't do the lottery, so I'm not gonna.
No, me neither.
Invest anytime soon.
None of us do. That's brilliant. We talk about winning the lottery. None of us actually do it. £2.50 is just way too much for my budget at the minute. So I think that brings everything to a wrap for this week, boys. We don't have the usual dad jokes because I'm assuming Lee still hasn't woke up from his afternoon nap. And so got the Dragons for next week. Thank you everyone for listening. It's been great talking to you guys, and we'll catch you all again next week. Goodbye.
Cheers.